Welcome back to episode 15 of Oneself. My name is Stephen Maher, and with me today, with me always, y'all, is Adam Bartleman. Adam, thank you so much for joining me today, my friend.
Again, as always, thanks for having me, Steven.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, my
Good to see
friend.
you.
Good to see you too, man. Good to see you too. Always a pleasure. Today, folks, we're talking about something that has deeply impacted both of our lives. It deeply impacts many people's lives, and we're talking about alcohol. And there's a couple quick anecdotes I just want to share. Um, I was born and raised in Boston, Massachusetts, right? And Irish Catholic population, right? And alcohol was historically how a lot of the culture dealt with problems, dealt with celebrations. It's just there was no mental health discourse, there was no resources for veterans. That the bottle was the answer for everything, right? And there's been a history of alcoholism in my family. My grandmother's 89. She told me stories of when she was walking the streets as a teenager in the late 1940s, early 1950s. Um, when there wasn't television yet, like that was the entertainment when you're walking down the streets and you're hearing the families fighting, and you knew which fathers were drinkers, and you knew which families were abusers, and which families there was, like, it was a happy home, so to speak. And but
Mm.
so it was rampant in the culture for generations, right? Flash forward, to my father's life, and my grandfather was also a drinker, and he stopped. And then my father was also a drinker, and to his credit, he also stopped when he was 44, and completely did this big 180, shifted to this ultra marathon runner life, which Adam and I talked about. But it's just like, again, the addiction mindset. It's like you need something to latch onto. um or oftentimes that's what I see, with when you're predisposed to addiction, right? So it's like, pick something good ideally for you. And even ultra marathon running was like, it was extreme, man. Like he beat his body up, to go do a 100-mile race in 24 hours. So yeah, man, alcohol has affected both of our lives, and I remember growing up too, going to funerals because of friends of my father's had, liver failure or whatever the case was, because of alcoholism. And that easily could have been my father, right? Easily could have been my dad, who just I just happened to have one that um loved his wife enough to use that as a catalyst to get clean. Because my mom kind of gave him an ultimatum. It was like, choose, the bottle or your family. And to his credit, he chose us. But I saw friends that their fathers made the other choice, right? And chose the bottle, and their lives ended because of it. Uh, so I know the cost, man, that this stuff takes, that alcohol specifically takes, and how embedded in the culture it is. I see some positive things, right? Where it's like, I know younger generations aren't necessarily contributing to that. They're not drinking as much, right? I don't know if that's because they're broke, they can't afford to go out to clubs, or they're just turned off from it, or maybe both, maybe a combination of both, right? But kudos to the younger generations, right? For just not drinking as much. And so I see that, I recognize that, and I think that's a step in the right direction, because I don't think it leads to anywhere good, right? Just drinking, and it's detrimental to your health, right? It's literally poison. I don't think it brings out the best in people. It kills people. Drunk driving, DUIs. I've that has impacted my family. I've countless stories of that. Um, and it's dangerous, man. Your whole life can be destroyed because of drinking, and not to mention sexual assault as well. You just add that to the list of problems, right? When people are under the influence, and they're assaulted by somebody, or their drink is spiked, right, with rufinol or something
Mm.
crazy. Like, it's just like, dude, like the amount of problems with this
Yeah.
stuff is multifaceted, multi-layered. And Adam, I know it impacted your life too, man. So that's my spiel, a little bit of a longer monologue for this one, because of how much it's impacted my life, and
Yeah.
how how much I see it just is not good for humans, right? And it's just not, it leads to nothing good. And so yeah, man, I would love you to share a little bit about of, what you've seen in your life and your experience. And I know you've had yeah, yeah, your own experiences with when it comes to alcohol for sure.
Yeah, man, for sure. It's a big conversation, and we'll loop in stories, where it makes sense. But the point that I think is most interesting, or the point that I care about is a lot is masculinity and alcoholism, like the distortion in the programming there. And again, like you said, I think that it's tapering off with younger generations because they can see through the such obvious bullshit. But with the older generations and still some of the younger ones, there remains that culture of associating alcohol use with masculinity. It's going back to wherever they started to do that, really, with advertising campaigns in the last century more aggressively, equating, yeah, masculinity with basically like hard drinking and being able to kind of handle it. And that was, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's insidious. Like the Marlboro Man is another example that comes to me,
Yeah,
right? With
yeah,
cigarettes, right? It's like this peak
yeah,
masculinity, this cowboy, this masculine man, and like he smokes,
yeah,
so you should too, dude. It's like, yeah, it's insidious
yeah.
with the marketing.
Well, dude, and generations like completely fell for it. Like complete, like from what I've seen, baby boomers like totally fell for that. The majority, and really, which is hilarious because just to throw in this quick little fact, which is like alcohol is actually uh like it kills your testosterone. It really lowers it. It's like it has like a feminizing effect on the hormones. So the fact that
Wow.
it's been equated with like masculinity is really funny because it's really, such a clear and massive distortion. But when I was growing up, it was modeled to me that drinking is cool. That's all I saw. My parents both drink a lot. I would say have drinking problems and a massive problem in my family, especially on my mother's side of the family, like really extreme alcoholism, like really extreme stories, violence, abuse, yeah, DUIs, blowing like crazy money on it, like really keeping the family in the poorhouse kind of thing,
Yeah.
um, because of it, and like generational, just going on down the generations and seeing how that plays out. And in my own experience, I started drinking when I was 14, and
Yep. Same.
instantly, like instantly, it, in retrospect now, looking back, I was like instantly had a problem with it. It was like liked it way too much.
Yeah.
It really, and this is what I've said before is is it, people are quick to say, well, like alcoholism runs in the family, and it's like, for as a general statement, cool, but if we're looking at it more closely, it's like, does alcoholism run in the family or does trauma run in the family? And alcohol is the most effective uh um chemical around to deal with the pain that comes from that trauma. Because it's kind of like, chicken or the egg, like which came first, the alcoholism gene or the alcohol? Like, so I always like to pose that question to people to get them thinking.
Yeah.
For me, I really liked drinking, and I went hard into it, starting at 14. And I would say by the time I was in like university, I was an alcoholic, and that continued into my 20s and into my career as a firefighter. At which point, at like 29, started to taper off, and then 30, I quit drinking completely. But the point that I would bring up from my own anecdote for the whole masculinity and alcoholism thing was like I remember in high school, at that like immature age, drinking was like the coolest thing to do, and I hope that that's not the case anymore. I feel like that's tapering off for younger generations, but I remember for me, it was like the more you could drink, like the more masculine you're considered. I remember being celebrated by my peers for being able to drink a lot.
Yeah.
And it was like, what is what a stupid metric to measure ourselves with. It was,
Yeah.
and like really, really toxic. And, into university, and I think that starts to kind of like taper off in university. Like, you know, women don't think it's so cool anymore once you're reaching about like your late teens. Like, it's not impressive that you can drink so much. Um,
Yeah.
but then, as I moved into a career in emergency services, all of a sudden, like, oh man, all my peers do the same thing as that I do, and my drinking is not abnormal in this crowd. It's completely normal. Yeah, in this crowd, it's like, maybe toward the high end, or like the higher use end of the spectrum, even in that crowd, but still, not terribly outside the norm. And it took a while. It took a few years of being in that, and my world getting smaller and smaller, uh, to the point that I realized, like, oh shit, man, like all of my friends are firefighters. I don't hang out with anyone but firefighters. And man, we drink a lot. I drink a lot. And I started to realize that like what I was considering normal wasn't very normal.
Yeah.
And yeah, got to that point where I was just like, damn, I turned 30, and it was like a few weeks after that, I was just like, man, I'm too old for this shit. This is ridiculous. I was not the guy that I want to be. As I've said before, there were a couple characters in my old workplace who I could look at and be like, man, that's me in 10 or 15 years. Guys that were a bit older than me, who were doing the same shit I was doing. And I was like, man, as I've said before, if I don't make a change, that's going to be me when I'm, 40, 45.
Right.
And that terrified me. And that really helped me, get to the point of stopping. And, at that point, for a few years, and my drinking pattern was like binge drinking, and big binge drinking in that culture. That's kind of how I'd always been, a couple times a week, pretty much going out getting hammered. And like, that's a lot. That's a lot on the body. That's a lot on the heart. And that's a lot on the soul. It's, opening yourself up to those kind of lower energies. Is exhausting. Anyway, I'm glad that I finally realized that that's not the path I wanted to be walking anymore. And yeah, that's kind of how that went for me. I could take it a little further, but I'd like to, put it back to you, Stephen, and just maybe share a little bit of your own personal experience if you want.
Yeah, man. Yeah, drank in high school, binge drank in college. Um, but somewhere along the line, I recognized because I was like, throughout all of that, I still like to like go to the gym and like, like take care of my body while I was destroying it. At the same, all
Yeah,
about
yeah,
balance,
same
right?
here. Same
You
here.
know? Yeah, and so like I'm like I would literally like, party and then like wake up early at 6 a.m. and like sweat out the alcohol. Cause like I knew that was like the only way I would like get through the hangover or whatever. So I was like, I'll be like sweat it out, but then you get older, right? Like you're not 18 and you're, in your prime of your youth or whatever. And so like you can't bounce back as much. So I remember that I was like, I clearly recognized that I was like sacrificing my future, like direct future, like tomorrow, the day, the
Yeah,
weekend or whatever. The day after I was drinking, I was like, I'm just sacrificing that day for what? Like for a night of getting fucked up. And
yeah,
I was like, that's not worth it to me anymore. Right. And
exactly.
then when I graduated college and I moved to Chicago, I got like the first job I could, which was like serving and bartending in Chicago. And a lot of love for Chicago, y'all. Like, don't get it twisted, but a lot of drinkers, right? Like, what do you do in the depths of a Chicago winter, man? And it's like,
Yeah,
bro, you're like, Canadian. And it's like, the winters are hard. What do you do in the depths of winter when there's nothing else to
exactly.
do? It's like you fucking drink, you know?
Yeah,
And so I would work hard for my money, man. Like, you ever work a double shift at a bartender or like, double shift as a firefighter? It's like, you work all that time and you make this money. And I would see my coworkers who are functioning alcoholics because they're all
yeah,
bartenders and they're drinking with their clients or their
yeah,
customers. And then they're like, "All right, let's go to like the club or whatever." And I'm like, and they burn their money they just made. I'm like, so
Yeah.
like, I was like, that didn't compute to me either. You know, where I was just like, we just worked our asses off, and then you're just gonna go burn all that money like immediately, you
Yeah.
know? And so like, I didn't even like go out oftentimes. Like maybe I would have like one drink, but like so like mid 20s, I was really like early mid 20s, I was really like going further and further away from it, and then but, and I've relied more heavily on, like, cannabis, honestly, right? So it's like I
Yeah.
kinda, like, put alcohol down, but I wasn't really still free of vices, right? Or, like,
Yeah.
substances, like, I still was, like, relying heavily on cannabis, like, daily user when I was in, a relationship I didn't wanna be in because I just think I didn't wanna be in that reality, and me and
Yeah.
her were, like, smoking it together, right? Because it was just like I don't think we either of us wanted to, like, truly exist in reality or we're happy with our lives. So it's just like toxic codependency with cannabis. But when it comes to alcohol, man, yeah, it was just like I think because of my dad and like I saw the toll it took on my family, um, almost destroyed my family, right? Like it was like I think I was a little bit like hesitant of it anyways, and like kind of succumbed to the culture and the pressure, but then just recognized, yeah, like in my 20s, I was just like, fuck it. Like it's like it doesn't make me feel good. Like it's like it costs money. Like,
Yeah.
when you're like young and broke and and um and it leads to nothing good. Like I hated being around people and seeing just the worst sides of them come out,
Yeah.
right? And just these worst versions of these people that I thought like were good people. And then it's like, oh man, like there's like a darkness in you because their inhibitions are lowered or whatever. It's like, and it's like, oh, like they're truly angry or they're truly in a dark place. And the alcohol just like highlights that. And like you meet good people too who are like life of the party or whatever. And it's like, maybe they're just, the alcohol, they're just bubbly or whatever too. But it's like, and especially when it comes to men too, brother, like the violence, right? Like the only times I've ever had like my life threatened besides that other time I was telling you, with like the guns and the dogs or whatever and the neighbors. Um, but like the time where I most felt threatened in my life is when men are fucked up and they're drunk and they want to like start something and then I felt like my life is threatened, right? Or like, they want to, be physical or whatever. And it's like, again, because it's like it brings out these awful tendencies in people. So
Yeah.
it's like, it leads to violence. I don't like that when people can't, when people aren't in a good mental space, right? And also too, dude, like when you're sober at a party, you just recognize that like there's no communication going on,
Yeah.
right? Like between people, right? Like I went to a party this past year, and again, I'm sober, right? Like I'm drinking like soda water, right? Like at these
Yeah.
parties. And I'm just like hearing the conversations of like between like fucked up people. And I'm like, and it's just like mishmash, like, like no one's listening to each other. There's no
Yeah.
communication going on. It's just like I could list I could just keep going, brother, on like the things that I don't like about it,
Yeah.
or the things that irks me. But
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I want to get more your perspective on, especially when it comes to like, men and just
Yeah.
the problems that you see with it too. And
Yeah.
and
It's
and,
like,
and also too, I just want to, shout out to you for stopping, dude, and like shout out to you for cutting that cord in your family, right? You know what I mean? Like having the buck stop with you
yeah.
because that takes a lot, dude. Like that takes a lot. I know how much that takes to like recognize that and break the pattern and like how what that takes. So just yeah, man, like really really kudos to you for stopping that as well.
Yeah, man. Thank you, and to you as well. It's the same thing. You know, a lot of us are coming into these families for for the purpose of breaking that chain, right? And man, it's yeah, it's a lot of work. Because what I figured out when I quit, and then looking at all the addictions, whether people are using cannabis or like normally when we take one thing away, it just pops up in a different way.
Yeah.
And maybe some like what I've noticed through my journeys, alcohol. A common one I've noticed is like cocaine addict quits cocaine and then becomes a bodybuilder. That one I've seen a few times. Alcoholism switches to some other, like extreme sport, like you said, like with your father, or like the people that go to AA or crushing, 2 packs of cigarettes and 12 coffees a day. Not saying like that, just like a friend of mine relating stories like that when he would go to AA. And so it's interesting when we're not looking at the underlying cause of the addiction, and we quit an addiction without dealing with that underlying energy. It's just like whack-a-mole, it just pops up somewhere else.
Yeah, you switch to
Um,
something else.
yeah, so when I really started to quit, and it was a little bit of a process, but when I was really serious about it. It was like, and not just switching to something else. It was like that was when all the trauma came up, and it was like I hadn't done. It was like all a lifetime and multiple generations worth of shit came up when I took that away, and it was like that all had to be dealt with. Um, but toward the end, it, I had a similar experience to you where it was like, and this I really like this quote, which again I can't remember who it was from, but which was like, "Alcohol borrows happiness from tomorrow," something along those lines.
Yes.
Which for me was the same thing where like I had always cared about, I was eating fairly healthy, I was working out, I was doing whatever, training, different things. Yeah, I got to this point where I was just like, man, I don't actually want to be hungover tomorrow. I would rather go home after 3 or 4 beers instead of staying out for 15 or 20, and just like be able to get up and go to the gym in the morning. That was a big shift where I was like, yeah, I care more about my tomorrow than I do hanging out in this bar with the guys after work, having the same exact conversation. And like you said, people are just talking at each other. They're not talking to each other, because normally like when they're lowered into that state, they're talking from parts. They're talking from ego parts where they're like alcohol, like many other drugs, is just like profoundly narcissistic. Like it's very self-centered. So it's like going into those unhealed parts that want to be heard. And that's why that darkness comes out, because it's like the trauma that it's covering for is now like allowing it to speak a little bit. And that's why
Mm,
you hear all the darkness and the violence come out when the alcohol has like removed that inhibition, because you're getting into the subconscious. You're shutting down the prefrontal cortex, you're shutting down the conscious mind, and in the physical, and represented through the prefrontal cortex, and you're getting deeper in there. You're getting like closer back into like the reptilian brain, the amygdala, whatever. And it's like it's so all that shit comes out. And and yeah, the violence, man. I was violent. I've been in bar fights, I've been in street fights, I've been and like you said, somebody threatening your life. Like I had somebody try and bottle me with an empty vodka bottle once, and like I wasn't even looking. This guy was about to hit me in the back of the head with it, which
yeah,
back
back of
of the
the
head,
head.
like, there's
Yeah,
a
back of the head
reason,
can
reason you're not allowed to hit on the back of the head in a boxing match. Like that can kill you. And
yeah,
somebody like grabbed this guy's arm before it happened, and then and then it escalated from there, and we went outside and handled it. But it was like that kind of thing was yeah, a common experience. And it was like, why? Not only is the alcohol damaging our entire system, like most people are aware of the liver, but like your entire system, but you're also putting your body in danger in these other ways. And your reputation, your freedom, you could be going to, somebody's acting out some trauma, and they're taking out on another person violently, whether it's a man attacking another man or sexually assaulting a woman, whatever it is. It's like, when we're not dealing with that properly, going into our own traumas. And really what I now see as like, my call to action is like, check out your addiction, because it's cowardly. If we're avoiding doing the work and just picking up a chemical substance instead, that's the clean pain versus dirty pain. Like clean pain is dealing with the shit inside, going to therapy. Dirty pain is letting it spread out to other people. And that's what happens when we use these substances, and we come out of our, conscious minds. So there's so much that needs to be looked at. And I in my journey, what I thought was like cool and a normal part of processing the stress of an intense job that I used to have. I came to see it as just like absolute. I don't want to. I get a little fired up about it. I want to keep it, I want to keep it light. I don't want to like other anybody. Um, I just want to call it out for the bullshit that it is, because it is absolutely bullshit, man. We think we're cool, and it's like, oh, this is just what the guys do, and you know, this is okay. I remember I remember giving advice to a guy who I was helping get a job back in the day, and I was like, you know, drinking is really a part of the culture. You know, the fire department culture. You're really gonna have to be like, your girlfriend's gonna have to know that you're gonna be out with the boys, and like it's part of like getting in with the crew. And then like a couple years later, like I talked to that guy and I apologized to him. I was like, that was the worst advice I think I've ever given anyone on anything. I'm sorry I said that. Please, like, please, you know, throw that in the garbage, and like, you know, tell your girlfriend the same thing. Like, that's, you shouldn't, you know, drink alcohol, you know, drinking alcohol is not, if that's part of the culture of any workplace or any whatever social organization, like, that's not something you actually have to take part in. It's
Yeah.
weak. It's weak stuff. It's really avoidant. That's what it is, and that's what, you know, in my experience when I quit drinking, and I really quit. You know, it was like I um all the trauma came up because I had been avoiding it. I'd been using substances to avoid it. Like, what is addiction? It's like running away from something that we don't want to look at. And it seems like the easier route, man. It seems like the easier way to go to avoid it. But again, it's just like, it's short term. It's very egoic. It's like, I want to feel good right now, even though it's going to make me feel worse tomorrow. Like, and not deal with, and not actually deal with this pain,
Yeah.
which is just so short-sighted, is so childish, really. It's like, it's so immature if we really look at that. It's like, man, this isn't making anything better. It's not only not making things better, it's making them worse. So, um, yeah, that's a little bit more of my journey with it. And, but yeah, it was, I'll throw it back to you because I'm talking for a bit here.
No, man, I love I mean, I understand the passion. It's just like the passion, the pain,
Yeah,
the pain, the pain, the pain that it causes, the pain that I've seen it cause across so many lives in my experience growing up. I don't know. Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, man. Like what? Like, you know, it's like I get fired up about it now that I'm on the other side of it, right? Like, you know, growing up, it's like, you know, yeah, you think it's part of the culture, you think it's gonna be cool, and yeah, I was, you know, binge drinking and all that stuff too, and it's like, because that's what the kids are doing, right? Um, and I wish, I don't know. Uh, I mean, I don't regret anything, you know. I'm where I'm at because that's how it was supposed to be. But lie, like you said, reputation and like the lives destroyed, right? Like you can one night one night of this stuff, dude. Like, you know, anecdotal stories of, yeah, guys getting in a bar fight, he smashes his head on a curb in concrete. And like, what? Like, he permanent brain damage or he dies and then that guy ends up in prison. It's like, your life can
exactly.
fucking end. Your life
Yeah,
can end because of one night of drinking. It can be over.
totally.
You get behind the wheel. You get behind the wheel. And then, you know, what's the classic story? They fucking cream into like a family and then the drunk
Yeah,
driver lives, right? You know,
yeah,
it's like, your life, that guy's life is over, right? Like you're in prison for the rest of your life because you just killed a family, right? Because you got behind the wheel. And so, yeah, you talk about reputation, man. Like, and again, anecdotal stories, right? The guy gets fucked up at a Christmas party, at the company party, and like, you know, and maybe loses his job or does something
yeah,
inappropriate
yeah,
with someone else's wife, right? Because he's
yeah,
not in control, and you fuck up your reputation. It's just like it destroys it. It's a destroyer. It's a destroyer of lives. It's a destroyer of worlds, of this world. And and yeah, man, and but it's like, but I understand it. Like it's like we weren't taught the tools to deal with our bullshit, to deal with our trauma. And so it's the easiest thing to cop out, right? But like you said, like it's like it's a coward, it's the coward's way out to to avoid dealing with the shit that we have to deal with.
yeah,
And I think what saved me too was, like, in college, like, it's like, yeah, I was drinking, but I was also experimenting with, psychedelics way more than, like, I was doing any of the other stuff, and, like, that was, like, that was bringing shit up, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So, it was like I had to confront some of the stuff, like, early, like, like, 18 onward because I was just like because it was bringing it up, you know what I mean? Just
yeah,
based on the substances that I was doing or the psychedelics that I was doing, and so, like, some stuff had to be brought up for sure, and so, like, I think that was, like, maybe just, kept the full on I have a functional alcoholic problem
yeah,
because I had to deal with some of my shit early on, using tools, right? Like, it wasn't like I was doing it, through therapy or, channels that are, people don't need to go to the extreme of, taking psychedelics, but,
yeah,
um, I think in a way that saved me from my father's past, right? And so many people in my family's path, and yeah, man, I'm like, I'm begging people, I guess, at a stance where it's just like, just really be careful when it comes to this thing, man, because I've seen so many lives destroyed, a family member, right, just had his life destroyed in my family, right, and I know he's got, like, a fucking heart of gold, you know what I mean? But it's just like he hasn't been able to deal with his shit, and
yeah,
he had, some of his best friends die when he was younger, and that fucked him up, I think, you know what I mean? And that fucked him up, and I think, unfortunately, that's how he's been dealing with his shit, and,
yeah.
yeah, and it's like, his life could be over, like, I don't know, it's like we're still kind of figuring that out, but
Oh
or I
man,
hope
this
not. I hope it's not over, but it's like these people I care about, my direct family, like my extended family and friends. It's just like it just fucks everything up,
yeah,
and that's why I get passionate about it. That's why I get heated about it because it just destroys. And I want I don't want that for others. I don't want
yeah,
others to endure the pain that my family's endured, that, I'm sure you and your family has endured. And it's like, yeah, there's better ways to handle our things, or handle our trauma, to handle our mental illness, whatever it is. And I'm saying that, I'm begging people because it's like I've been there, and I don't want, like, do it, do as I say, not as I did, and not as
yeah,
we
yeah,
did, you know what I mean? And
exactly.
so, yeah, man, I'll kick it back to you because
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, thanks for sharing. And yeah, and also sorry to hear that about your family member, man. That's rough because I know it's like yeah, it guts you when that kind of thing happens. And that's the thing is like when we're approaching life and especially men here in this patriarchal world in which we can get away with so much shit because we're, sitting on the top of that supposed, fake pyramid since that we've created here in society, we like can behave so immaturely and avoid doing the work and look at things in such a short-sighted way. Like we're talking about alcohol, how it's so short-sighted, it's I want to feel good for a little bit here and then way worse like later tonight and tomorrow. It's this short-sightedness that comes with not only like using it but not understanding the impact of it. I'll share another story that like maybe hits it home a little bit. Like I remember working because I used to do 2 day shifts and then 2 night shifts. So 2 days, 2 nights, and then that was like my 4 day block. And I remember one night, my first night shift went to a call for a pedestrian struck a drunk driver, had hit a guy in a crosswalk, just like instant death, bad scene. The guy, yeah, so the driver was drunk. And cops were there arresting him. Next day, and then I'm working my, so that's one of the calls I go on that night. Second night shift, the next day I'm back at work going on a medical aid call for a guy who's having chest pains. And it turns out it was the driver from the night before. He'd spent the night in jail. He'd been promised to appear in court. And then there he is the next day, like having I can't remember what it was specifically, but potentially like a essentially a heart attack because he's sitting there dealing with the reality of what he did the night before.
Yeah.
And I went, I saw the same guy 2 nights in a row in different in different settings, and it was like, "Man, yeah, this is the reality of alcohol. This is the reality of drinking and driving. Like, everybody thinks they're gonna get away with it, and, everything's gonna be fine." Well, this guy didn't, I was doing CPR on the guy in the middle of the street that he hit that didn't survive, and, and then the next day, we're watching this guy, freaking out over what he had done. Uh, you know, a few blocks away, like a few blocks away, and like in basically in the same neighborhood, and that shit is real. And like even though it wasn't my personal experience, I was witnessing it and like feeling the heaviness of that, feeling the heaviness of the scene the night before. When you arrive and you know what's happened, it's like somebody's just died here because of alcohol abuse. Someone was abusing alcohol driving a vehicle and smoked this guy in a crosswalk. And it's like, man, it's so heavy. And it's like it's those things we don't take them seriously until they happen to us because again, everybody thinks they're invincible, right? Especially like who? Young men. I remember like all the stupid shit I did. I thought I was totally invincible. I probably
Yeah.
didn't consciously think that, but my actions reflected it. That inability to understand consequences until being in, as they say, the brain develops more through the into the mid-20s. It's like, damn, man, like some of the shit that I did was like scary, like getting into fights like in Vancouver, Granville Street is like the notorious like kind of dumpy bar, dumpy club area. Like there are nicer areas to go if you want to have some drinks, but that's like the really kind of rough, cheaper area, and that's like on a Friday, Saturday night is like just a mayhem down there. There are police
Yeah.
everywhere 'cause there's fights breaking out, stabbings, like it's just constant. And it's like, is this what we're doing for fun? And on top of that, kind of bringing it back to like the conversations that you hear when people are drinking and when you stop drinking and it like and just a side note for those who are still drinking and thinking about not try just going one night, go out with your friends and don't drink, like go out as you normally would but don't drink and just pay attention to what's going on because that is be the most nauseating thing you'll ever experience and you can't unsee it, and that in my experience has helped me see like how gross the whole thing is and like why I would want nothing to do with it because the conversation is dull, it's surface level. You see like in my experience like chatting with women, I'm like, okay, this is like really, really empty and that's where I was leading into like sort of the other side of things, like not violence, but like the hookup culture is like, man, it's like it's just sad. It's just sad. It's people coming from traumatized parts and trying to connect with each other, but really it's like there's a glass wall in between them and they think they're, having this connection and it's just sad. It's just kind of gross and please just take a step back. Take a step back even if it's only temporary. Just give yourself the opportunity to have a look at it from a more clear perspective, which I would recommend just try doing your regular thing, but without alcohol. Just order a soda water with lime in it, and just if anybody
That's my
asks, say
go-to.
there's vodka. Say
Yeah.
there's vodka. If your drunk friends are saying like you got to have a drink, just be like, yeah, there's vodka in this. Whatever you got to do to
Yeah.
get through that night and just have a look at what is really going on and get a clear perspective is very enlightening because I mean I would bet that you will come away from that with yeah, having seen something that you can't unsee, and like that helped shift my perspective so much. And then uh just a little bit more of my story as I started to quit that. I went through the phase of like, boy, I'm going to lose a lot of friends here. I don't really know how to socialize without this. I don't really know how to meet women without this, like, in other venues or whatever. And, I went through this period of thinking like, this is going to be pretty lonely. And it was for a little bit. And I did stop getting invited to things like when I kept turning down drinks and even from the friends that I thought were close friends, who I explained to very clearly, like, I think I kind of have a problem with this, and my family, that's a really big problem in my family. So I'm going to stop drinking. And I had really good conversations with these people, only to a few days later be, at a house party and have that same person pushing drinks on me all night. I lost a lot of friends because, like, I realized a lot of these people weren't my friends because I hadn't been being a friend to myself. I'm not blaming anybody else, but when I started to choose myself, be a friend to myself, that was when the people that were in my life who were not able to show up for me in that way because they weren't showing up for themselves in that way either, they just started to fall away, and friend groups
Yeah.
shifted. And for a while I thought it was going to be lonely, and for me too. Also a big catalyst was psychedelic mushrooms for bringing me to the awareness of seeing, of seeing what was happening, like, where I saw why I was drinking. I saw like the why of it, and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, wow, this doesn't have anything to do with me. This is my family trauma." And as to do with me and my experience, but like the root of this, the origin is not in my life. This is like generations ago. This is like some dark shit that goes back to like Europe. And I was like, man, I can't unsee it. And that's where it left me, where I was like, man, I might be kind of lonely here for a bit, but I would rather be sitting at home in my apartment by myself than going out with the guys drinking, because I tried it a few times. I had a few drinks, like, during my tapering off period. I went out with the guys, and going to the same bars, and having the same conversations, because that was another thing I realized. Like, we're having the same conversation every single week. Every time that guy gets drunk, he talks about that. Every time he gets drunk, he talks about this thing. Like, everyone
Yeah.
talks about the same thing, whatever their
Yeah. But
favorite
there's
thing
no
is.
growth.
No, there's no growth, man. It's complete stagnancy, like, complete. And
Yeah.
and then, like, I remember, at this point I was single, and I was like, chatting to some women, women coming up to me and talking to me, and I was just like, I, I, I can't do it anymore. Like, this
Yeah.
is like, this woman's beautiful, but I can't, like, outwardly, but I can't. There's no conversation, that this is not
Yeah.
lighting me up at all. And
Yeah.
I would rather. I was like, man, I'm gonna be single, alone, and have no friends. And I sat, and this was the turning point where I chose. I was like, because I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, that's gonna be pretty lonely. Maybe I should go back. And I tried going back. I gave it a little test, and it was like, no, I can't do it. It's too gross. And it was the point where that was the point where I realized now that I chose myself, where I was like, I would rather sit at home by myself for the rest of my life and have no friends, and never date, never get laid, nothing, and just be. And I would choose that over going back to the old way. And
Yeah.
recognize now that was the tipping point where it was like, then shit started to open up. Then my life got started to get, you know, exponentially more magical, and started to meet way cooler people and have way cooler experiences. And yeah, anyway,
Yeah. No, man, because relationships based around our alcohol are surface level. There's no substance to them, right?
absolutely.
There's no like you said, like there's no growth. It's just like there, there's no evolution because yeah, if you just, after work just getting fucked up week after week after week after week, it's like nothing's new, nothing changes. Um and dude, one of those relationships that I wasn't supposed to be in, it was because like it was literally because like we were working together and we got fucked up after work, and then like hooked up, and then we were like and then she was like, well, what are we? And I was like, oh, I guess we're together. Like, and then it was like, that
Trauma.
relationship was never supposed to happen. Yeah, you know what
Yeah.
I mean? And like but it was like because of this fucking alcohol, like, yeah, this
Yeah.
trauma and this, it's just like I was like, oh, all right, I can just no agency in my own life, just walking this path that I
Dude,
wasn't.
I
I mean, maybe I was supposed to walk on, but like
I hear you, man.
Learn the hard way. Yeah, learn the hard way, dude, because I started a relationship with alcohol as the foundation. And that was never supposed to be, man. That was never supposed to be. And and yeah, like it was just like fuck.
Dude, I
It's
did the
just
same
like
thing. I know,
yeah,
exact same thing.
yeah. I mean,
That's
woulda, shoulda, coulda, you know what I mean? But like no regret to that, no animosity towards that person, you know, like it was supposed to happen because I'm here now, right? And I recognize that that was not any sort of foundation to build a relationship with a life partner on, you know. And again, like the surface level of relationships, and it's like yeah, your friendships, like, too, especially if it's just rooted in alcohol, like, it's like those aren't friends, man, you know.
yeah,
And if your relationship with your, you know, your girlfriend or whatever, it's like every time you see each other you're just getting fucked up. Do you even know who that person is? You know, do they know who you
yeah,
are? Because again, the communication, right? It's just like you know, I don't know, man. Yeah, again, I get fired up about this topic because it's just like number one, because I lived it, I experienced it, you know, I understand, like I understand, right? And but it's just like the conclusions of all those bad experiences are fuck that. Like
yeah.
fuck that, you know. And it is the most destructive thing I've seen, you know, in terms of numbers. Like obviously like opioids or, you know, violent crimes, like there's all this other stuff that is also violent, but because alcohol is legal over 21 in America, right? What's Canadian drinking age? 18?
In a couple maybe like 3 or 4 provinces, it's 18 and the rest is 19.
19. Yeah. So it's like, you know, you're young, right? And all those places, right? And but it's yeah, man, because it's like allowed or you have way easier access to it.
Easier
It's just way
access.
more yeah, it's just way more destructive. You know, it's just way
It
more destructive.
yeah, and yeah, man, like when I was in first year university in Montreal and like in Quebec, it's drinking age is 18 and I was 17. So yeah, I was, you know, born later in the year, so I was, you know, young for my class. And you know, 90% of places didn't even ID. And I could go into any grocery store, any corner store and buy booze.
Yeah.
Nobody ever ID'd. And I was like, I was 17 and I probably looked like I was 15. I was like
Yeah.
this tall, skinny kid.
Yeah.
And
The culture
man,
encourages it though.
dude, it encourages it. And that's like the point that I want to lead into here. Um you know, that is leading us into here is like recognize how you've been fucking played. Like recognize how we have been played as a society. Alcohol is not some like natural like outgrowth of human culture. Like, oh, you know, and I get it, and I've, you know, got family from the UK and like you know, that originates from the UK, and oh, you know, whatever. For example, Scotch is just such an important, so much culture and heritage. And oh, you know, you go to the distillery, and oh, they've been doing it here in one family for 400 years, and look how classy this shit all is. It's like, guys, this is about an ethanol addiction on on a human race level. This is a chemical that has been what's the word, promulgated, that has been you know, encouraged, the use of encouraged in our society for so long, for the reason of controlling us. You know, think of like George Orwell, 1984. Keep them quiet.
Yeah. Brave
Cigarettes
New World
and
with
gin,
Soma or
whatever it was.
something.
Yeah, it's like, guys, this shit is consciousness suppressing. It is the and if like again, try some if you need to do something, try some psychedelics, wake up your mind. Like alcohol is the most boring drug. If you're out there doing shit, like it's the
Yeah.
most boring ones. Like if you're gonna do something, at least do something fucking interesting. Not that I'm advocating it, but like, you know, go for a plant medicine ceremony where it's legal under proper supervision. When you check the references, it's a safe place. Like do something that will activate your mind, go to South America and, do an ayahuasca ceremony, please. Like, go into Mexico and do a mushroom ceremony, and like in the mountains in Oaxaca where it comes from, like, where that culture comes from. And, like, please, because alcohol is a joke. It is not it makes you boring, it kills your testosterone, it dulls your senses. It's just like it is just the most boring drug out there, and it's horrible. It's like we got played. It's not making you more masculine, it's not what the cool guys do. It's like, have a look. Just look closely. Just look closely at yourself. Look closely at the people around you, because whoever's drinking heavily is avoiding some shit. And like, um, and just playing that broken record just on repeat. It's just it gets old. It's tired. It's time to leave the shit behind.
Yeah, man. And you spoke about control too. Like I want you to touch a little bit more upon that because it's like, yeah, an inebriated population is more easy to control because they're not thinking because they're numb to
Yeah.
reality, right? Like, can you speak on that a little bit more?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you think about where we're conditioned into separation consciousness, right? Which is ego consciousness. So we're looking from the through the lens of the ego primarily, where the ego is supposed to be the facet of us that helps us navigate a 3D world in the experience of separation of individuality, which is like, I believe we're coming into these individual forms, we're having the experience of physicality in order to move through this world and understand oneness from the perspective of the illusory perspective of separateness. And um, when we are taking substances that are anchoring us into a separated consciousness more, which is the ego, which is ego is short term, ego is dopamine spikes, you know. Um, Getting deeper into the self, into the more connected brain, the more unity consciousness is going to be moving more towards serotonergic drugs. So like the tryptamines, if we're needing to go down that road, we're talking about, psilocybin and DMT, and in ayahuasca, DMT being something that we naturally produce in our brains. Uh, so recognizing that alcohol is something that's anchoring you into your ego, anchoring you into the short term. And this is how it's used, right? Just like 1984, it's like, well, what are people allowed? We've been pushed into this eight hour day, 5-day work week. What was it, designed by like the Rockefeller industrial and school program in the early 1900s, like training people to be factory workers, and then you get 2 days off. And what do people want to do after their boring soul sucking week at work? They want to get fucked up because, like, holy shit, it's starting again on Monday. Like, let me escape.
Yeah,
And
yeah, because reality
and so
sucks.
yeah, so it's like, but when we're anchoring our awareness into that level of into that perspective, on our own awareness, we are we're staying on the hamster wheel. We're completely stuck because it doesn't get us anywhere. And while it can feel scary to the ego to approach the unknown, and whatever it is, go to therapy or go to an ayahuasca ceremony if that's up your alley, and if you feel called to that. The ego is like, well, that's scary. I don't know. Like, isn't that what happens? Isn't that what people do? And they quit their job and they leave their partner, and it's like, yeah, maybe, but like, that's the thing, is like, what's scarier? It has to get to that point of like recognizing what is scarier, staying in this doldrum, this fucking hamster wheel, this like same shit over and over again, and getting wasted and having horrible things happen, or seeing what lies on the other side. And like, to the ego, that is more scary, to see what lies on the other side. But we have to get to that point within ourselves, reaching that maturity point in our souls, and the journey of our soul's awareness, to come to the place of realizing that, man, I can't do this shit anymore. I want to jump onto the other side and just see what's there and open my eyes. And then it's when you open your eyes that then you're able to see you do have more options. we're taught that we only have a few options, and they're mostly constrained by like where you live, how much money your family has, all these like the layer, like the level of privilege that we've been programmed into believing that we have, which again, and I know this can sound a little bypassing to some people, but like we are all able to break out of wherever we are because that is the nature of reality. We are conscious creators of our reality. We are all reflections of God. No one is better than anyone else. Okay, just because and I know there are layers of generational trauma that come with this and that create these mental prisons, which is this matrix that we live in. And so I'm not trying to, so, far be it from me to say like it's easy to break out of, especially sitting here as like a straight white male. I understand that, that can be a little triggering, but like understand that like it comes down to a game of awareness because what are we here? We're all souls, we're all the same being here, showing up in slightly different packages. So it's like when we expand our awareness and we come to this place of realizing that we've been being played by something here, this collective, this co-creation that we have here that is so distorted, which again, just look around you for the evidence to see that. Are we living to our fullest expression or not? Like, it's pretty obvious we're not, as of yet. But just recognize that and recognize the fingers of that hand that are manipulating manipulating our lives, which, it doesn't matter if you want to take that in a conspiracy theory route or whatever. It's like just the fact of the matter is we have a collective co-creation in which humans are not expressing themselves and living to our fullest potential. We're still killing each other, for God's sake. We're still having wars. We're still experiencing jealousy. We're still dulling our senses with like carcinogenic chemicals. Like, side note, alcohol is a class 1 carcinogen. That is a fact. It's terrible for you. It's not. There's no
Yep.
like. Oh yeah, no.
It's
Just
poison.
an. Yeah, it's like everything in moderation. That phrase is just an idea. It's not an excuse for putting poison in your body. So anyway, um, yeah, recognizing that hand has fingers that are showing up as things like alcohol. That's one of them. That's one of the fingers that you can chop off that fucking hand to get it out of your mind, out of pulling the strings and manipulating your awareness and your experience in this planet. Letting that shit go, getting rid of it, and seeing what lies on the other side, which is expanded, essentially you're just opening your eyes. You're waking up, you're expanding your awareness to be able to see uh more of your reality. And it can be a little unsettling. I'm not gonna lie. But the journey is worth it. And even though it's unsettling at times, you're gonna have to walk that path at some point because this is the natural flow of things, of evolution. Might as well put on the big boy pants, the big girl pants, and get on it now because the train's leaving the station. Might as well be on it. We are evolving, so let's do our best to contribute to that. Don't drink alcohol.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I love it.
Drink
And I think you
drink
alluded to
water.
this too, man, but like life does get cooler, when
Man,
you're avoiding these substances.
it gets so much better, man. Like I thought that it was like because it feels comfortable. Again, ego wants to go into what's familiar. Okay, I want to hang out with the guys. Like all those guys like me, and we go out and we have some what I used to consider fun. Once you stop drinking, you'll realize that what you considered fun was not fun. This bullshit that's modeled to us through our society, like in media, like for example, the Hangover movies, like sure they're funny, but like look at it from a deeper perspective. Like they're funny on the surface, but look at it deeper, and it's like it's just man, it's just sad shit, right? And um, recognize that while it can feel comfortable to stay with the familiar. Like in my own example again, just going out with the guys. I know I've met women at these places before. Maybe it'll happen again. Blah blah blah. Whatever. It's like fuck, man. That shit is so boring. Like just realize that there's so much more. There's so much more to life than hanging out with some friends, then there's so much more to life than some shallow friendships and a few pitchers of beer, like, and some, like, sad drunk hookups, like, there's so much more. Like, it's coming to work, the next week and telling your friends about the shenanigans you got up to, like, man, it's immature. Like, it's not first year university anymore. Like, let's get on with it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Folks, if you like what you heard in this episode 15 of Oneself, please like, comment, subscribe, support us in all the ways that are free. And we really appreciate it. And leave some thoughts. You know what I mean? Tell us your experience. Would love to hear it. Adam, any closing thoughts for do not fucking drink.
Yeah,
Do other
man.
stuff. There's more
Yeah,
to
man.
life.
That's it, dude. Just please, just open yourself up. Like, I get it. I remember I was in it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was cool. There's so much more on the other side. It's like I couldn't even. There's no temptation anymore. People would be like, "Oh, like, do you miss drinking? Or, like, is it okay if I have a drink around you? Are you tempted?" And I'm like, it's really not like that. It would be like you're asking me if I want to go eat some garbage with you right now. Like, I don't see it as. I don't want to. Why would I put it? There's a
Garbage
complete
would have less
disconnect,
carcinogens, dude.
dude. It's like it's nothing. It's nothing. So and it can get there. And there was a point where yeah, and I'm rambling on a little bit here, but there was a point, when I was younger, I was like, I don't trust people that don't drink. I don't understand how people don't have fun without alcohol. Like, and I've heard other people say that many times. And I used to be one of those guys. I used to be one of those guys, and I am now completely on the other side. It's totally possible. It's more fun. I don't miss anything. I don't feel any FOMO. I don't feel like they're missing out on anything because I'm not. I'm aware of the fact that I'm not. So, yeah, that's what I would add to the end there. How
Awesome.
about yourself? Any
Thank you,
closing
Adam.
thoughts?
Yeah, no. Yeah, dude. No, just yeah, it's life is better. You meet cooler people. You do cooler things.
Yes.
I think my friendship with you is an example of that, right? In my own life, right? I hope people find other cool friendships with people that are trying to get better, trying to grow, trying to evolve, trying to build a better world, trying to build a better society, build a better life. And getting fucked up every night or on the weekends or whatever it is, isn't the way to do it. It's not how we're gonna build something better in this world. So, just you know, do something else, do something
Yeah,
else.
man.
And just try to get better.
At at least
But
try it, you know?
yeah, just try it.
Yeah,
Just
man.
try it. But thank you so much for listening, everybody. And yeah, we'll catch you next time.
Right on.